Hey guys, so I wanted to do a quick rundown of a horary that I thought was interesting, but just a heads up, I'm not currently doing horaries right now. There are just too many patrons for me to be able to accommodate everyone in a timely manner, so I'm not currently doing them, but I do plan on returning to them within a few months, and I will have to devise a way to do them. But continuing on, this was for one of my friends, and the question was, should I go to the doctor? So first, let's look at the rising. Whenever you're doing a horary chart, you always want to start by looking at the rising. So the rising is a mutable sign, and so whenever you have a mutable sign rising, it means that the situation is unstable. Now, that doesn't have to be a bad thing, but generally there's a quality of instability or something is changing a bit. It's not like when you have a cardinal sign rising, which means that something is starting or ending. But with the mutable sign rising, it means that something is changing. It's not going to be the same today as it was yesterday or tomorrow, right? So notice that it's Gemini rising at the 18th degree. So the reason why my friend was asking if they should go to the doctor is because their eyes are hurting and they've been having a bad eye problem for the last several months, but they are very resistant to going to doctors. It's not something that they or their family are used to. So it's rising at the 18th degree. So we all know that the 18th degree is a Virgo degree. And yes, we know it's the diabolical degree, but you have to use your context clues. Just because her eye is hurting, it doesn't mean that anything diabolical, quote unquote, is going on. It doesn't mean that there's somebody somewhere pulling the strings to make her eyes hurt, right? Right. But it's the Virgo degree nonetheless, so we know that that means a health issue. And Gemini rules over the eyes. So the fact that Gemini is rising at the 18th degree shows a health issue with the eyes, right? So let's look at the ruler. The ruler is Mercury in the sixth house. So right off the bat, the sixth house represents our health, our body, just like the 18th degree being the Virgo degree. It represents needing to be analyzed, right? And it can represent nurses and doctors. And so right off the bat, the ruler of the rising, the chart ruler, which also represents the person asking. So the ruler of the chart, which is the chart ruler, and the moon both represent the person asking, but we're focusing on the chart ruler right now. So it's in the sixth house. So that right there says, okay, you're definitely thinking about going to the doctor. All right. So notice how the ruler is Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury does not like being in Sagittarius. Mercury is in its fall in Sagittarius. So this shows that the person isn't really doing too well. If the chart ruler, which represents the person, is in a sign of its fall, it's almost as if the person is literally falling, right? And I think the way I was thinking about it, falling is close to the word failing. And it's like their eyes are failing in a sense. They haven't been able to look at screens for a long period of time. Looking at screens or making their eyes hurt, their head, their temples, like it's all a convoluted mess. And then notice that Mercury is conjunct the sun. So whenever Mercury is conjunct the sun and not Cazimi, Mercury Cazimi means that those two little bitty numbers right there are within 17 minutes of each other. Those two little numbers right there, we call those the minutes. But if that's not happening, if a Cazimi is not going on and Mercury is conjunct the sun, then that's called a combustion. It's like the sun's rays are burning up the other planet, right? Except for Mars. If the sun is conjunct Mars, then it's giving energy to Mars. But anyway, we're not talking about that. So since Mercury, which is the chart ruler and it also rules the eyes, is conjunct the sun, this also shows the eyes as being weak, right? And then notice how the ruler of the sixth house, which is Venus, because the sixth house is in Libra, the ruler is Venus, is in Scorpio. Venus is in its detriment in Scorpio. Venus doesn't like being in Scorpio. So that also shows that this person's body is not doing too well. Like it's literally the body, the ruler of the sixth, the body is in a sign of detriment. The chart ruler is in a sign of fall. It's not going well. They definitely need to go see the doctor. And then the sun is there in the sixth house. So the sun in a horary chart is where I'm not going to say it's where you want to pay the most attention to, but you're going to want to give it some significance. You're going to want to give significance to wherever the sun is in the Horary chart. And the sun is also at the 15th degree. The 15th degree of any sign, because it's directly in the middle, is critical. It's a critical degree. Now, critical doesn't mean that, oh my God, this person's about to die. Oh my God, what are we going to do? It doesn't mean that. Critical just means it has added significance. There's an extra importance. Things are of a timely manner, or there's something that needs to be handled, or, you might want to look at this cliche, stuff like that, right? So all those factors, this person definitely needs to go to the doctor. And then going to the moon is in Virgo. So that's our third influence for health being a major factor of this chart. If we were to look at this chart and there were just not a lot of health significators, there wasn't a lot of sixth house action, or the moon didn't really give way to anything, then we would know, this person probably doesn't need to go, or they could probably, wait it out, see they'll be good in a few days, blah, blah, blah. So like, for example, if this would have been a sign, like if the chart would have been rising with a fixed sign, then depending on the other factors, I could have said, oh, well, the situation's not really going to change. Whenever a fixed sign is rising, the situations don't always necessarily change. Or if they do, it's not by much, unless it's Scorpio, which can point to a significant change. That's the only exception. Aquarius can also point to sudden change, but again, so moon is in the 4th house, and the person had currently been trying to deal with their bodily issues at home. Now, notice this. So, do you see how the moon is at 2 and Mercury is at 8, right? 2 is less than 8. So since they are in a square aspect, this means that the moon is applying to Mercury. It's moving towards Mercury, right? Because 2 is less than 8. So if it had passed 8, like if the moon was at 9, then it would be separating, but it's not. Whenever you have an applying aspect in a horary chart, that shows something that is coming, something that is going to happen, right? Or some type of energy influence that's going to be felt, something like that, right? So Mercury is the chart ruler. The moon is the co-significator of the person asking the question. And the fact that these two are about to form an exact aspect. So when the moon gets to 8, now this doesn't mean that some shit will go down as soon as the moon reaches the 8th degree in Virgo and forms the exact aspect in real life. But on a general thing, we know that something will happen soon, right? So, the fact that that's Venus back there, she's scratching. So the fact that the chart ruler and the moon are about to meet each other, right? That shows that this chart is especially significant for this person, right? It's important. There's something here that's about to connect, right? Something is about to really connect for this person, right? And what's about to really connect is that they need to go to the doctor. Moon in Virgo and chart ruler Mercury in the 6th house. Like, come on. And they're about to touch by aspect. And notice how it's a square aspect. That also shows how this person is resistant to going to the doctor, and how they, kind of had to ask this question in the first place. The moon sometimes likes to rely on its own feelings, and then Mercury, especially Mercury in the 6th house, likes to rely on its own logic. And the square here represents that conflict between feeling and logic, because this person feels like they should just stay at home, moon in the 4th house, but then they're thinking, well, maybe I should go. And the square aspect shows that type of conflict, right? And so notice how the moon is about to make the moon is applying to Uranus. Uranus is at 7. The moon is at 2. 2 is less than 7. So we know that this is an applying aspect. That means that something sudden is about to happen. Something that's kind of going to come unexpectedly. But it's a trine aspect, so it won't be too unexpected. So this person actually asked this question like 3 days ago, right? And literally the next day, which was yesterday, that's when they woke up that morning. Terrible pain with their eyes. They absolutely were not feeling well. They were off the phone, the computer all day, no looking at any screens, eye throbbing, head hurting. It was not a good day. And the trine aspect shows because that's not really totally unexpected, because their eye was already hurting when they formed the question the previous day. But it's still a little bit unexpected, that Uranus influence, because it's like, damn, I didn't know I wake up feeling even worse or this bad, because like I said earlier, they've been dealing with this for a few months off and on, where it'll come in little spurts. So Did the person end up going to the doctor yet? No, as of right now, they still have not gone. Notice how the sixth house is, once again, it's ruled by Venus, and Venus is intercepted in Scorpio. Interceptions in a chart can represent an energy that is kind of hard to, the energy can be stuck in a way, right? It's almost like they can't get out of that energy when it comes to interceptions. And then another thing about interceptions, it can represent an energy that is overlooked, underappreciated, something like that. And so ruler of the sixth intercepted in the sixth. So they're stuck in this health issue. And it also shows how they're kind of stuck in their fixed nature, because it's a fixed sign about not really wanting to go to the doctor, right? And so this person, the reason they did the horary is because their partner, Venus represents the partner, and it's a Libra sixth house, so the partner has an influence here. They asked this horary because their partner had been telling them, oh, well, maybe you should go to the doctor. You should definitely go to the doctor. Blah 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 blah. Right? But they're still kind of stuck. It's like, you're saying that, but I don't know. I don't really know. Blah blah blah. All right. So let me see if there are any final talking points here. Also, whenever you're doing a horary, you always want to try to stick to what's being asked. Like this person, Venus, what are you doing? Oh, she's playing. But anyway, sorry. Whenever you do a horary, you want to stick to what's being asked. So this person didn't ask about friendships, so there's no reason for me to look at the 11th house and try to derive every single thing from the 11th house, right? But the sun, which is in the sixth, and remember I said whatever house the sun is in, you want to give it a little bit of extra importance. It's making an applying aspect to Neptune at the 18th degree. So like we said, the 18th degree is a health issue, and then the sun is applying to Neptune. So what did I say about applying aspects? That means that something is going to happen, or some type of energy is going to be felt. But this is a square aspect, and usually with square aspects, typically we see some type of external event. What is an external event? It means it's something that you can clearly see with your eyes. If somebody else was there to observe the whole thing, they could have observed it, something like that. So the fact that Neptune is at the 18th degree, that is the Virgo degree. It's a health degree. And then Neptune makes things very confusing, hard to understand. And so as time goes on from the date of this question, things are likely to get more confusing. If they don't go to the doctor, right? The sun applying to Neptune, the sun in the sixth house, but if they don't go to the doctor, things are just going to get more confusing. It's very likely that something could happen where the health issue takes some type of turn, or it does something. There's some type of symptom that happens that's just very unclear and foggy. That's that Neptunian energy. It makes things foggy and unclear. And so another thing, this person, they are very, very knowledgeable about medical things. They had a major in biology. And so that's that Sagittarius energy here. Sagittarius energy is that know-it-all energy. It's like, oh, I already know this. I've already researched this before. So this person has been like, oh, if as long as the right side of my head isn't hurting in conjunction with the right side of my eye and blah, blah, I learned this in biology, right? And so that's that sun, that's that ego about their knowledge, Sagittarius. And it's conjunct Mercury. Mercury is our logical, rational thought. But remember, I told you earlier that Mercury is currently weakened by the sun because it's combust. So their logical, rational thought is being overtaken by the ego. What's characterizing this? The energy of Sagittarius, that know-it-all energy, is characterizing this. So their ego about the things they already know is overtaking their rational thought of, I should probably go to the doctor and let the doctor do it, right? And then the sun also represents authority figures, or somebody who has a higher ranking in some way. So you got the sun in the sixth house. That lets us know, especially since the sun does not rule the chart, the sun in the sixth house right here, it's telling us there's somebody with a higher rank, with more knowledge, Sagittarius, than this person on their issue, right? And then lastly, there's a Scorpio influence here. Scorpio's intercepted. Mercury's at the 8th degree, which is a Scorpio degree. And in my opinion, whenever you see Scorpio stuff in health-related charts and things like that, it can often show a need to look deeper. Scorpio is all about that investigation. It's that private eye energy, and we can apply that to the body. Like when the doctor takes an x-ray or does an MRI or CAT scan, that is looking deeper. That is a deep investigation. That's what Scorpio is all about, right? Scorpios are known to have x-ray vision. Like it all correlates, right? Now this doesn't mean that this person is going to have an MRI or a CAT scan or anything like that. It can be just as simple as the doctor taking a look into their eyes and doing an investigation through their chart, like their actual medical chart, and et cetera, et cetera. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I thought this was a very interesting and cohesive chart. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And I have a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction video coming up. I have a couple of other posts I have coming up. And I really just hope you stick around. All right.